members.
Yes.
So now we're moving into our Ignite session. If you haven't been to a food summit before, Ignites are 5-minute presentations, and the way they work is that the pictures that you see really are the background to the story that people tell. So Ignites are storytelling, and we ask people to talk about their experience when the pandemic hit and the innovations that happened to really show some of the resiliency and creativity and partnerships that formed across our food system. So we have 5 presenters in our first Ignite session, which is focusing on production. And this is focusing on production in farms, but also in community gardens and backyards. So we have Tim Paulitz from the Koppel Farm who will be speaking, Susan Jacobson with Big Canyon Acres, Drew Mossman with Big Canyon Beef, Lindsay Myron from Smoot's Flavor Farm, and Will O'Neill with Backyard Harvest. So Mackenzie will be sharing her screen, and as I said, these are timed, and so each person has 5 minutes, but at the end we do have a transition, and during that transition Ryan Lazo is going to facilitate some Q&A. So at any time, please type into the chat your questions, because Ryan will then ask those of the presenter as we transition to the next person. So with that, thank you to all of our production Ignite presenters. I'm so excited to hear your story, and I'm going to turn it over to Mackenzie to get that kicked off.
Like Colette mentioned, first up we have Tim, so I'll turn it over to you, Tim.
Okay, well, thank you for the invitation. My name is Tim Paulitz. I'm the coordinator for the Pullman Community Garden at Koppel Farms. I've been gardening there for since 2001 and a board member since about 2003. The garden was established in 1993. We have about 100 plots. Mostly 20 by 20, but some 10 by 10. And plot fees are our primary source of income. We're a 501c3. We're governed completely by a volunteer board. And the next picture after this will show a picture of our post and beam shed, which was built from a design in the 19th century. So we lease 11 acres from the Koppel estate, which was a former dairy farm on the river bottom, adjacent to the South Fork of the Palouse. Our garden covers about 3 acres. That's a picture of our shed there. We have 3 structures on the farm, including a post and beam shed, which you see there. We have a picnic structure that was designed by WSU architecture students, and we also have a greenhouse. The other neat thing about our garden is it's adjacent to the Pullman Chipman Trail, which runs from Moscow to Pullman. So who are our gardeners? It's really a cross-section of the Pullman and even some people from Moscow. We have graduate students, undergraduate students, international students, families, lower income students, seniors, retired people. And most of our gardeners rent apartments, although there's a few homeowners. And the one common thread is that everybody's interested in gardening to grow your own food and to garden organically. So the 3 principles that we operate on are, first of all, as I mentioned, we're completely organic, no pesticides. Second thing is that the gardeners have to devote some time during the month on common community activities, maintaining plots, mowing, etc. And the third thing is we have an educational mission where we educate each other, but we also try to educate the community. And a lot of that was done through the spring fair, which unfortunately we don't have this time. So how has COVID affected our garden? First of all, we've had more gardeners than we have had in the last 15 years. So we have 95% of the plots occupied, and we saw the same thing in the 2008 recession. We've been able to stay open with social distancing, and we've been able to provide our free food plots to food banks, backyard harvest, community action, etc. So what did we lose? Well, we lost our spring fair and plant sale, which was a major fundraiser, but that was also our educational opportunity. We invite community groups as part of that open house. And this year we're going to try to coordinate with the Palouse Conservation District to put on some virtual types of education in the future. So we didn't have any work parties except for some socially distanced work parties from the Center for Civic Engagement, etc. And the other thing we lost is we usually have potlucks every month. So that ability to build community was really hampered this year by that. What did we gain? On the other hand, we've been very active in fundraising this year. We got a grant from Meter to pay for a drip irrigation system for water conservation. We got a grant from the Rotary Club for a rototill, and we have some funding from United Way and the Diamond Time with Moscow. The other thing that we've done is a collaboration with the Palouse Conservation District. They wrote a grant to put in this garden. We've been active also in redesigning our website, putting out a survey. We now have a volunteer grant writer that we're working with, which is also helping out. So the other part of that demonstration garden, and I think the next slide will show it, is it also includes a bee house and birdhouse, etc. The final thing that I'll just mention, and it'll be the last slide, is we're trying to work on getting funding through Innovia. We put in a grant application for a ADA accessible garden, wheelchair garden with tabled beds. And we've been cooperating with the Disability Action Center and also the City of Pullman on that. And we've really found from our survey that we did, okay, so that's just showing some of the information, interpretive signing, and everything that's provided by the by that project with the Palouse Conservation District. We also do a lot of work with them because part of our lease also goes to the riverfront, and maintaining that habitat is also a very important part. The thing I didn't mention is that we're really a natural habitat that provides a lot of habitat for pollinators, for bees, because we're organic. And that's just a picture there of the rototill that we got. And so again, the garden is a resource not only for the gardeners, but for the entire community that we've been working with. And the other thing I just wanted to mention is when we finally did our survey, we realized that actually a large % of the gardeners are low income. And this is something that we had suspected before, but we never really had the firm numbers. And yeah, so this is the final picture here. This is showing an example of a ADA wheelchair garden. This one's up in Coeur d'Alene. So again, we're trying to put together funding, trying to put together community collaborations that we can construct this, because this is another unfilled need. People that are limited with movement, whether they be completely wheelchair bound or not. So that's another future project that we're going to be looking at. So I think that is it. And I don't know if there's any questions or time for that.
There are a couple questions. The first one is the land protected in any way from development?
No, we are leasing this from the Koppel estate. So at this point, the land is zoned agricultural. So that's one thing we've been thinking about in the future, is trying to protect that land. But at the present time, it is not.
And how do you enlist or determine who gets plots for a garden, Tim?
Okay, it's a first come, first serve. They sign up around this time of year. The other thing is we've been providing set aside plots for low income gardeners, and we do that through our cooperation with the Community Action Center, which we've had for many years. So we will have plots available. Feel free to email us, contact us from our website, and we can sign people up for that.
Colette, do we have time for one more quick one? One more, all right. How about any specific education around water conservation in the garden?
That's a big part of it because that's our biggest expense and that's the biggest threat to our financial solvency because we do pay a lot for water. It's on the city system. So we've been trying to educate the gardeners. We've been trying to encourage people to use drip systems, and that's why we got that grant from Meter, which used to be called Decagon. So that we bought a drip system and we've had about 15 gardeners who've taken advantage of that. We've also put more money into repairing leaks, but the main thing is really educating gardeners to use drip irrigation system or soaker hoses or other ways, because we have a very, very deep soil and you really only need to water twice a week because of that deep soil.
Great. Thanks
Thank
a lot.
you.